We are the Metropolitan Elites, and once again, there's no news.
Really dry week, hasn't it?
Yeah,
Nothing's really gone on.
There's nothing to say.
We haven't really discussed the shape-up of the cabinet.
No, yeah. So we talked about Boris. It is a minefield of analysis. To read something into it would be foolish.
Well, what you can say is that the Cameron era is over. I mean, Oliver Letwin got his marching orders. George Osborne got his marching orders. Wish I'd been there.
Yeah, and the method of doing it as well. It wasn't. They didn't let him go out and resign. Which is, I'm sure, I imagine what George Osborne would have done. Then it was announced. Oh, yeah, he's sacked. They just announced it. And that's. We've finally got to that point where they were given this free ride. Cameron and Osborne were given this free pass, pretending that what they were doing was having any effect, pretending that they knew what they were doing, and everyone was shouting, "They're useless. It's just politics for politics' sake. Politics for politicians. All that austerity for nothing, no reason. It's not achieved anything."
Cameron was such a lucky politician until it all came crumbling apart at the end. But the coalition really saved his bacon because they pushed forward with this austerity, and essentially what you had was a right-wing government or a right-wing party and what was considered a centre-left party or a left-wing party, both saying that this was necessary and it's got to be done.
Yeah.
So basically, if you were anti-austerity, that's why we saw the rise of all these groups trying to put an end to austerity and put an end to the cuts. Yeah. So then, because the political dialogue wasn't there, it's very difficult for Labour to position itself anti-austerity when you got Liberal Democrats saying no, it's justified.
Yeah. And why they did that? It's anyone's guess.
Because they wanted to be in government, essentially.
Yeah. Is it really just because Clegg was power hungry?
I think so. When you've seen Nick Clegg interviewed, even now he's saying we did what we did for the good of the country, sort of thing.
Yeah.
He says it about 15 times in an interview, and it just sounds like self-delusion to me. It's sort of
it didn't
constantly repeat the mantra, and maybe one day it will be true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's now so clear that.
And so when they didn't form a coalition in the second Parliament, it all came apart for Cameron because he didn't have that shield, he didn't have that protection. He didn't have the Liberal Democrats as a breaking force saying, no, this is bonkers. Mm-hmm. This is ridiculous. You can't get that past us. And we ended up having the European referendum, which undid him.
Which they thought they wouldn't have to do.
Yeah.
But so Osborne's gone, replaced by Hammond. It's May as PM and Hammond as Chancellor. So I wonder what Clarkson as Clown or something. I don't know. It's really strange. But he's a dodgy guy. He's not very nice.
Well, he comes across as a very steady pair of hands, doesn't he?
That's why they put him there, isn't it? Rather than the sort of political games of the last two.
Essentially, in this political climate, with this amount of uncertainty, the market's very shaky. Although actually the FTSE has done remarkably well, but the pound has gone down. As a side note, our business, we had our record number of European sales last Monday.
Oh my God!
Interesting, isn't it? Interesting. Anyway, in this situation, what it looks like a middle-aged banker.
Yeah, it was reliable. It looks reliable, and
if you could put Mervyn King there, you would.
After the chances, after the spin doctors, the other two, they need something reliable. No, it's going to be fine. We're going to steady the ship. Forget all that. It was rubbish. But I love the fact that it's they've admitted it effectively, haven't they? By just casting it all aside. Yeah, it was crap. Jeremy Hunt's still there for some reason.
I think we ought to do him last.
Okay. Gove.
Gone.
Govey's gone, and not only that, no one's even mentioning it. He's not. I found something in the end, but basically nothing's been written. He's just forgotten. Everyone talks about Boris, no one's talking about Gove. Yeah. It's irrelevant, which obviously is very pleasurable. Amber Rudd as Home Secretary, I don't know anything about her at all.
Well, she's
young.
Extremely posh.
Yeah.
She's been MP for 6 years, so it's quite a meteoric rise.
Yeah.
She was the one who said you'd like to go on a night with Boris, but you wouldn't want to go home with him, sort of thing. So she stuck it to him. I think May's looking for a strong character in the Home Office because the reports, of how May ran the Home Office was a bit like a warehouse of sports director, something like that. Very oppressive, sort of confrontational sort of attitude, and I think she sees that the secret of keeping the Home Office in order, so she's going for another strong female.
Yeah.
I don't think Andrea Leadsman's up to the job, but not Andrea Leadsman.
Amber Rudd.
I think she's actually a bit flaky. I mean, up until that moment with Boris, she was remarkably ineffective. She got a strip torn off her a couple of times on question time. So I think that may be a little bit of a mistake, quite weak. But then again, May wants a 50-50 cabinet. What's she going to do?
Maybe at some point there was a suggestion of Andrea Leadson, and they decided she's just a clown. Well, forget that. Let's have someone a bit.
Yeah.
David Davis is in charge of Brexit, and he actually has this title of Department in Charge of Exiting the European Union. Or something like that. I think the acronym is MeSexU or something like that. It's ridiculous. But I think that's a sensible choice. I've got a lot of respect for David Davis. There's lots of things he says I don't like. I don't agree with him, but he's a proper politician who
he seems up
believes
for the debate,
things,
doesn't he? Yeah.
and actually doing it for the right reasons and knows what he's doing and all that stuff. That's the sensible choice. Not Boris, someone who actually probably believes, who actually really wanted Brexit. I think.
Yeah, ex-SAS man, I didn't know that.
Oh,
and it kind of makes sense now actually when I've listened to him talk. But potentially, until we see how this all shakes out, potentially this could be the most powerful department in Whitehall. Given the Treasury a run for its money, because
it's going to get the headlines.
Yeah, well, everything is, every department has something to do with Europe.
Yeah.
And the foreign, the reasoning is with Boris is actually the Foreign Office is going to take a backstage because Brexit, it's all about Brexit, and David Davis will be dealing with that. And also international trade is going to get beefed up for dealing with, agreements with new countries, which Liam Fox is in charge of now. So actually the Foreign Office could be a much smaller affair.
Yeah.
And the Brexit office could be quite a major force.
Yeah, and you look at it that way, you think Boris is actually, although it sounds ridiculous, Boris has been put in actually the place where he can harm the party the least.
Yeah.
And I think having him in there will please maybe
Brexiteers.
The Brexiteers, or maybe UKIPers. Maybe that's what they're thinking, that UKIPers will like Boris because he's a character and he's very right wing. But obviously, like you said, because of Brexit, what's he going to be doing? And a lot of the big things worldwide, that's going to be done by the Prime Minister, isn't it?
Yeah.
So maybe that's what it's about.
I think that's probably it.
Whereas if they'd given Boris some lowly Minister of Agriculture and Cheese, Boris would have taken the big thing and saying, "Oh, she's offered me this."
Yeah. I mean, you get a lot of attention that particular department, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Also gets him out of the country quite a lot, which is quite handy.
Yeah. But yeah, Liam Fox, what does he have on her? Liam Fox? That's probably the weirdest one for me.
I don't know. I mean, I get the sense that Theresa May's a much more old school Tory, and it's looking more old school Tory style cabinet. Not slick. Liam Fox isn't a slick operator, but he was one of the Brexiteers. She wasn't going to have Gove in there. He was one of the main contenders, or one of the main arguers for it. So he gets a position, and obviously he was shunned by David Cameron. So it's another way of separating this Tory government from the previous one. Yeah.
So nothing in politics can surprise me now.
No.
Nothing. There isn't anything that will be surprising.
Okay. The point was, as these came out, I was starting to think, oh, she's actually got quite a good finger on the pulse. I think she's assessed the situation quite well. And this could be very, very tricky for Labour until news came out this morning. Jeremy Hunt had been sacked. He was a goner.
Really?
Yeah. And then it changed. Oh, he's not he's not out of the government, he's been moved.
Oh.
And then it changed, oh, we're getting news that he's staying. And it turned out he's staying. At that point I thought, actually, she's not all with it. Because Jeremy Hunt, this is the ideal opportunity to sort this junior doctor's problem out, yeah? My belief is that if another minister had presented that contract to the junior doctors, they would have accepted it. It was simply the fact that it was presented by Jeremy Hunt that the majority of the junior doctors went against the BMA and voted against it.
Yeah, because they've targeted him rather than
he's targeted that. You know, he's done all this. Basically, he's made up statistics, lied publicly, constantly undermined them, and they've had enough of it. So Theresa May could have dodged that and said, well, we're going to have another person in charge of health and we'll get this contract sorted, and it would have been sorted relatively quickly, I would have said.
Yeah.
But she's decided to stick with it, which makes me think two things. Firstly, Jeremy Hunt has publicly said that this will be his last major job in government.
Yeah.
So maybe he's not willing to take over another department, maybe it's health or nothing in his point, and there's not enough big hitters in the Conservative government to fill all the positions she wants to fill, that she would be happy in having in the cabinet. Or two, remember when she took on the Police Federation?
Yeah.
And she really put her foot down. I get a sense she thinks that's the way to deal with the junior doctors.
Yeah, and keeping him there, he's already toxic.
Yeah.
He might even be electrical now. Depends where his constituency is, I suppose.
Well, I'm pretty sure he's got safe soon.
But obviously keep him there to do it. Yeah, everyone hates him. There he goes. Done. Job done. Mm-hmm. And then the next person coming in doesn't have to reverse anything. They're not toxic.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, she's been pretty good. I think these are tricky times for Labour because she's making a land grab for their territory, and she's made some key changes to the way government works with this new department, and it's looking sensible actually. But her judgment on Jeremy Hunt is off the mark.
So yeah, next week we're going to talk about the Lib Dems. There'll be some other earthquake, something will happen. We don't know what it is yet. Sorry.
Yeah.
We are the Metropolitan Elites, and we'll see you next week for more lies.